Welcome to STRATA Originals. I'm excited today to talk to RJ. RJ Safranek is a business leader. He's a leader, an entrepreneur, a great idea guy. He's a success activator, which all means he's a really great guy to get to know and have a conversation with. And you're going to learn a ton.
Very excited to be here, Lan. Thank you very much.
I want to start with an icebreaker because I think it's going to tell us a lot about you. What is your preferred vacation? Beach vacation, mountain vacation? What's your favorite?
Yeah, that's a fun question. I probably actually have two answers. So I'll start with the one that jumps in my head right away, which is really goes more to adventure. It's skiing out west mountains with family. For me, it's about as good as it can get, right? You get the mountains, you get snow, you get activity, the après ski after the end, and just the camaraderie. And watching your kids do it with you, and now unfortunately my kids are better than me, so I'm trying to ski like crazy to catch up to them. But that's probably my favorite vacation. If you said, what do you want to do, I'd do that anytime, any year, and try and do that. Very close behind that though is European vacations with my family. Again, just the culture, learning food, how people live, sitting and just being part of it, and not a sprint where you bounce into a city for a day, but you sit there for 4, 5, 6 days, try and eat, where the locals eat, and hopefully pick up some of their language, and just doing that with your family so that they learn it as well. I love that part of the vacation from the culture side. So it's either adventure or culture. Get me over to Europe and hopefully eventually sometime in South America, but right now Europe.
But I think that if there was a vacation that was all sports all the time, you might also choose that one.
Absolutely. Actually, we're trying to combine Europe with skiing and get out to the French Alps, and I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet.
Now, you're also a football family, yes?
Absolutely, yes.
Football.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Why don't you tell us about that? Because I think that's all about your personality.
Sure. So, I think it goes back to, football is a big thing, but sports is probably the overall overriding theme. But I played football through college at a decently high level. I wasn't the superstar D1, pro athlete, but played through D3 level. And absolutely loved it. Love the camaraderie of the team. Love the effort. I love the success or fail, and the scoreboard side of it, where it didn't matter your effort, right? You could have put in all your effort, but sometimes you just get beat, and that's okay, right? It's if you put the effort in. I hate losing. I'm probably one of the world's worst losers. I'm sure there's somebody worse, but I'm really bad. I'm a terrible loser. I cried after every game we lost. Thankfully, we didn't lose a lot in college. Lost a ton in high school. Cried after every one. I'm a horrible loser. But I think the whole part of the sport was doing it together and working, and eventually you do succeed, with your team. And so I had tremendous success. Got incredibly lucky. Part of the story is I was a preferred walk-on at Wisconsin for my freshman year. Which really means you're kind of just tackle fodder, and it's a little bit different today, and especially at Wisconsin because they do such a good thing with the walk-ons. But my first year there, and the only year there, happened to be the first Rose Bowl year in I think 30 years for Wisconsin, which was the 93-94 season. So I'm just a walk-on, and I ended up with a Rose Bowl ring and a Rose Bowl jersey, and just an amazing experience. Got the trip out to LA with the team, and it was so much fun, and just loved it. I left and went to Whitewater. My coach, very harshly but very nicely, told me I wasn't good enough to play at Wisconsin. I wasn't big enough for what I should be playing, and wasn't fast enough for what I was built for. So I left and went to Whitewater, and ended up becoming a captain of that team. I think we won 3 conference championships. Had a really fun, successful career there, and made some lifelong friends. And that's kind of translated to our kids. My kids play sports. I coach lacrosse. My daughter plays soccer. So our family is overall sports family. And I think sports is such a great microcosm of life. It's the lessons of work ethic and grit and determination. success and failure. And it's pretty quick, right? End of the game, there's a scoreboard. Do you win or lose? Doesn't mean you're a failure as a person. It just means you didn't succeed in that game. And then you go back to the drawing board and say, how do we do better? Right? Do I have to get stronger? Do I have to get smarter? Do I have to work more? What do you have to do? And so that's kind of permeates our certainly our whole family and how I really look at business as well.
Yeah, and because you have a saying that actually I think about all the time now, which is there's always a scoreboard.
Yes.
Right?
There's always a scoreboard.
RJ quote. There's always a scoreboard for everything in life and in business, right?
And right, life, business, sometimes you don't see it for a while, right? Raising kids, you don't see it for years. Business, it's a little bit easier, right? Because you can get metrics and revenue and profit. But there's a scoreboard for relationships and marriage. There's always a scoreboard. And for me, the key is making sure that you have your eye on it and make sure that you're playing the right game, right? Because if you're watching one score, there's a lot of other ones. But yes, somebody's always keeping score somehow.
And I love your analogy though about sports. Is a great analogy for life too, because you talk about strategy and teamwork and all of that, and I think recognizing even if you're playing the right position, right, what you're good at, and what our life is like based on the position that we think we should be playing versus the position that we know we're best at. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about sort of your realization about whether you were playing the right position or not.
Sure.
And how that came about.
Yeah, I assume you're referring to just kind of the last couple of years of my career here. So for probably 10 years, and probably 15 years total, I was running a company that's called Axiom. It was called Store Systems Midwest before that. In smaller business, 50, 60 people. And it was something I always wanted to do. I love leading. I love building businesses. But honestly, at the end, I was completely burned out and personally disenfranchised and upset and angry. And so I walked away from the business. I do still own the business, but I appointed a new person to be president. And he's much better suited to the business and to growing it in the day-to-day management of it. And after I stepped away, it took a couple months for me to figure out why I was so angry. And honestly, I was taking that anger home. And just, it would boil over, not in anything physical, but just stressed out, right? I'd get angry. I'd go walking off and I couldn't have decent conversations with my family just because I couldn't deal with the stress that I'd already brought home, and anything further just was too much.
Would you say angry or miserable?
So miserable, certainly. But my primary emotion goes back to being a football player, has always been anger, right? So, and it was a tremendous asset in football, right? You get run over, great, get angry, play better. You're losing, get angry. I mean, so I unfortunately, I learned to translate everything into that. Probably not the healthiest thing, but that's kind of now my inner makeup. So I would get in arguments with my family for very innocent questions. And I think that all stemmed from me being, to your point, I was miserable because I was trying to do things I just wasn't built for in the office. I'm not good at day-to-day management. I'm not good at the things that a small business needed. And I wasn't able to let go of all these small disappointments and small arguments that just happen in business. They happen. But I couldn't let go of them anymore. And it just ate me up. And it turned out that, of course, it's a self-fulfilling cycle, and that I was just thinking getting worse for the business, not better. So then I was creating my own fires and my own issues when I didn't have to be. And it was all because I was in the wrong spot. I was trying to be somebody that I couldn't be. And you can do that for a while. But eventually it certainly came back to bite me. And it ate up my energy, it ate up my passion. And certainly ate up my personal life as well, and lost some friends, certainly lost some employees because of it, because I just couldn't do the job that I thought I should be doing.
How did you realize that you weren't that kind of leader. You go on day to day, you're miserable, you're angry, but you don't necessarily know because it's filled with obligation. So what was the aha moment there?
Boy, the aha moment was honestly my wife at, late at night, basically just told me how miserable I was at home, and that my behaviors were just so different than I was a couple of years ago. And then I asked a couple of people at work and some friends, and they're like, "Yeah, you're not the same happy guy that you used to be." And it probably took. I actually worked with a career coach, kind of a transitions coach, and she helped me walk through kind of, took some surveys, which I love doing those personality assessments, and she kind of helped me really say, "RJ, you're really good at all these types of things." And they were strategy, they were big picture, they were innovation, they were driving change. She goes, "But here's all the things you told me you're doing at your business," and they just didn't match up on the line at all. And it was kind of then that I looked at saying what I was good at and what I should be doing, what I found excitement in, and what the business needed. And that's when I looked at it and said, I'm not the right person for this company. And the company, for what it needs, I couldn't do. And I was bad for it, frankly. So I stepped away, still own it, appointed a new president. The company's doing better. It's flourishing. I'm happier, still working on
happier.
working on it, right? And getting to a happier, way more better spot personally. But that realization, it took me some months and stepping away, and somebody really looking at me saying, "This isn't what you're good at." And then, frankly, honestly, the courage to step away and agree, even though I know it looks weird to a lot of people to own a business and walk away from it, from the day-to-day management side.
Well, I think when it gets to a certain size and a certain number of people, because I totally related to your story, by the way. I was really excited when I heard about this, but this next thing we're going to talk about, which you've already said, but nobody would know until you tell us the story about your kind of next creative thing.
Sure.
How that rolled out, because that's an amazing, inspiring story.
Yeah, that's going to be the way more better story, and it's so much fun, and it's kind of relit, and it reminded me of why I love building the business in the first place, and I loved building the business. Right, there was so much of that was so much fun, and to your point, it's actually one of the things I told my employees. I'm like, I'm kind of a consistent fire starter. Problem is, if you keep lighting the fires, they can't work on them quick enough or put them out fast. I was creating too much change too quickly, too often. And they're all great ideas, but eventually they just fought each other as far as the ideas were.
They're fighting for oxygen, right?
Yes, that's exactly it. So way more better happened, funnily enough, skiing, and really not funny at all, considering it's my happiest spot in the world. So I'm riding up with my two of my children, and end of COVID. So end of COVID is pretty miserable time anyway, right? Lockdowns, masks, can't travel. Work was sketchy at best for us as far as just revenue and customers. It was just a very hard couple of years. So it's right near the end of that cycle, or at least the lockdown cycle. And we're skiing, and I look over at my son and I say, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, I'm good. I'm doing really good." And my daughter says, "Well, I'm better than good." And skiing happens to be her happy thing too. She loves the mountains. And because we're competitive and it goes back to sports, I'm like, "Well, he's good, she's better." I'm like, I'm way more better. Like, I'm way more better than good. And we just start laughing because, of course, it's improper English. And then we go out to dinner that night. "Well, how's your steak?" "Oh, this is way more better than at home." And my bourbon turns out to be a way more better than bourbon. It just stuck. And from that came this whole idea of, well, we can be good or we can be better, but why not get way more better? Like, how much fun is that? And it's kind of really been our passion project and we use it all the time now. Hoping some of my friends, just the thought of way more better, right? Say, let's set a big goal. Let's find our happiest spot in life, right? Whether, again, it's skiing or whether it's a cafe in Paris, or for my wife, it's, a beach side by an ocean, under an umbrella, by the way, because she doesn't want to get sunburned. So if you create that, she's like, that's her way more better spot. There's no happier spot for her, probably, with a book. In life, that's where she wants to be. And it's all those things combined. Say, this is good, but the way more better thing is that ideal spot moment in life. And so we talk about that a lot. Say, how do we get to way more better? And it's an individual thing. It's, you have one very different than mine. It could be similar, but I'll guarantee there's a uniqueness to it. And so that's kind of been our passion, starting a business around it. Not really sure where it's going to go. It's totally a passion project, but some of it's retail and reminding you of what maybe your trips, or what way more better, or camping, right? Having a cup of coffee next to a campfire in the wilderness. That's going to appeal to some. That's just awesome. It could be travel. It could be business, right? How do we get businesses to a way more better spot with life? And you don't have to be miserable. You don't have to eat up, your family and personal life to succeed in business. They can coexist and do really well. Trying to figure it out, honestly, but it's definitely a passion thing for me.
When we spoke before and you told me that story, the minute you said way more better, I felt instantly happy. Right? Sure. When you think about that, and I say it all the time now, by the way. So definitely I'm in for hoodies and t-shirts and sweatpants and the whole 9 yards. But I love the connection to how, with what you do in helping businesses from a consulting perspective, how you can actually build that into your business of helping other businesses be way more better. I mean, I'm sure if you said that to a CEO, he'd probably go, what? Right. Did you just say way more better?
Like, yeah, let me tell you the story, because I know it's wrong English, but that's what makes it fun. I think it's the intent of the statement versus the properness of it. But no, I think it absolutely ties into business and advising, and the scoreboard, right? And a lot of people I've told my story to have shared how much you're either running a business or owning, they've built themselves into a life that they're miserable with. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? They're most where, they're keeping score with revenue and how their business is doing, and forgetting the fact that there's a whole other side of life. We always talk about work-life balance, and I don't even want to get into that. I want people to realize that we can build a life scoreboard, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be balanced. It just has to succeed for you. And that's your way more better, right? So I could sit with you and say, what do you really want to get to? And what do you really want to be? And then let's build that. And by the way, I'm probably going to say, is that really what you want? I mean, that sounds good. What's way more better? Like, what would be awesome? Well, running my business from, Park City, where I can ski in the morning and do my calls in the afternoon. Why? Well, because I have energy in the morning. All right, let's do that. How do we do that? I don't know, but let's build it together. Let's go. It sounds like fun. Yeah. So
how do you think you would, if you were working with a CEO or an entrepreneur in building a way more better business, let's just say, how would you, what are the things that they would have to think about? For people listening, I'm just wondering, what are some practical things that they can ask themselves that would help them get to the way more better?
It's a great question. It's a really hard question, right? Because every business is unique and it's hard, and so much of it comes through conversation. But I think a lot of it would stem from, what do you want it to be, right? Or what do you need it to be? And is that making you happy? Is that making the business happy? There's umpteen stories and Harvard Business Review and all these of companies that are succeeding top line, but they're just ruining people. Like, well, is that really what you want? If that's really what you want the business to be, that's great. But then let's talk about you as an individual. Are you happy doing that?
Yeah.
And if that's not true, right, then you're not at your way more better spot. And then it's, why aren't you happy? What parts make you happy, right? What parts do you succeed at? What do you get energy from that you look at and go, man, I can't wait to do this today? And what parts do you go, man, I want to have 3 flat tires on my way to the office because I don't want to get there to do that. Right? What are those? Let's talk about those. And well, we start making lists, right? Say, what are the flat tire ideas? All right, perfect. What are I can't wait to get in there. I got home at midnight. Why? Well, because I was just doing this and I just got excited and I forgot to eat dinner and I had so much fun. What are those ideas? And if you do that with, with the leaders, and then you do that, you can almost do that with a business. Say, what does your business get motivated to do? And what does it really struggle doing? Right? Well, now how do we build, and you individually, and then your business? There might be some things that you struggle with. Customer service, for example, as a business, because you just don't have the culture for it. You don't have the people, or you don't have the structure. Well, we know it's necessary, right? And it's probably very necessary in today's day and age to be very successful at it. How do we get there? Do we outsource it? Do we have to hire? Do we have to buy? What are those things we have to do to get this entity to that way more better spot that we target? And then have the courage to do it and let go. It doesn't have to just be you. There's all kinds of resources and people, and you just have to be okay asking. And be okay with the answer sometimes, because the answers aren't always fun. So it'd be those types of things. It's where do you want to go? Are you getting there in a person successful or business culture successful way? And if not, what are those pieces that are making you miserable, the business miserable? And kind of picking those off and saying, how do we get those in the right spot, right? Outsourced, new people, new training, right? There's all kinds of things you can do after that. But the biggest thing is identifying what it is that's is causing the stress and the struggle.
It's all about alignment too, right? So alignment of your skills and alignment to the business. And, were you surprised at all because you worked with the business coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were you at all surprised at the results of your coaching sessions?
Honestly, no. I think I intuitively knew it. I knew where my energy was going. I knew the right answers. It was the mirror, I think, of that person standing in front of me saying, "You're doing something." And I love the people that work for our company. I love the business. It's a great industry. It's a successful business. I love everything about it. I just couldn't do it. It wasn't. I wasn't built for what it needed. And she looked at me and said, "RJ, you can love it as much as you want, but what you're doing is, one, you're kind of wrecking it, and you're certainly wrecking yourself by doing things that you just aren't good at, and you're forcing your business to do things it shouldn't be doing for you." And it was that mirror. I knew she was right as soon as we talked. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then it was the next step of, well, now what do you do? Right? Because from the business side, to let go of something you love, and I've known these people 20, 30 years. And honestly, I ruined relationships that I had for 20-ish years because I was just, I was doing the wrong things for the people that we had and for the business. That realization, I think, was definitely, I wouldn't have gotten there, I think, without her saying it. But I already knew it inside.
Yeah. That's hard too. Like that's hard, knowing that you've ruined relationships, and not intentionally, but
No.
just because maybe there was a misalignment of what you're good at, and you just hadn't acknowledged yet where you needed to be. So, because you're a fire starter, like you said, and you started too many fires.
Too many fires. And I think and so many, I think, business leaders think that they can fix everything, right? I can fix it. And I couldn't. I couldn't. I was struggling myself. And so to fix the business and those, I couldn't do without stepping away. Could I step back in today and fix it? I don't even know if I should. Maybe I could, and with the renewed energy, but probably not, right? It's not, I'm not the fit for it. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that now. And I walk into the business, I'm so much happier for the people that we've got. and where it's going to be going. Because if you had said hire yourself as a business owner, would I hire me? No, I wouldn't. I'm not the right fit for that job. And people laugh at me for saying that. Like, how can you do it? Like, because it's true.
Yeah.
I'm not the right fit for that job.
I think just recognizing where we excel and where we are strong leaders, and then what we're not is so key. Did you go back to friends or key employees or executives that you may have worked with for a long time and sort of had a post-mortem with them? Or
I haven't gotten friends. Yes, I've done better in my personal life, and certainly did better with my family as far as saying, hey, I realized where I got to. I realized this isn't what I wanted to be. And so I kind of started from inner circle first, right? Start with family, closest friends. I haven't done it with business yet. I need to, and someday hopefully I will. I still have some, I think, letting go to do, as far as some of the anger that I've got and some of the things that happened. And but I will. I think someday I will, and hopefully, right, we can maybe a year or 2, 3 down the road, start the friendships up again. And but certainly for the people still in the business I have, the ones that have left or I terminated, I haven't reached out to yet. But I need to. And it does the way more better say if they were that much part of your life, my life's way more better with a minute. So let's do that and restart. Yeah.
Maybe we'll send them a hoodie to start. Way more better hoodie.
I might have to hand it to them with a beer or a cup of coffee and explain it. But yes, or a hat or something. It'd be something kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge, and Alan's really kind of the expert on the different kinds of leadership and personalities and what happens to leaders, because they're kind of CEOs are really in a silo, right? It's almost like especially when you're talking small to mid size, the weight is on your shoulders, and it's not like, I don't know about you, but I know many, and including myself, you don't talk to people about it. You don't, if you're frustrated, who are you going to talk to? You can't talk to people at work. And, depending on what kind of, you usually don't want to bring that home. So it's almost like a suffer in silence. So if you're misaligned and you're not talking to anybody about it, then it just keeps going. Right. So I think what you're talking about today is so important for so many leaders to hear, because there's probably so many that are feeling the same way that you were feeling.
Sadly, I think you're right. And from incredibly non-scientific, conversations and study, there's already too many. Even the friends that I know that own businesses are in some way that position. Right? Some people are incredibly lucky. They love their business and love where they're at. For a large majority, it's not that way. And I haven't figured out why but I think so much of it is what you said, Leon, that it is all the things, right? It's the waking up at 3 a.m. thinking about some random thing. It's not even payroll. Sometimes it's, right, you have an employee that's, right, their kid's in the hospital, right? So you wake up at 3 a.m. think about their kid in the hospital and how do I help and what can I do and should I do anything? Or this part of the business or this person's not succeeding. Well, it's all those things, and you can't talk to people about it. There's certainly not very many. I'm incredibly fortunate to be part of YPO.
Exactly.
And that I do have a nice circle to talk to some of the time. But it's always there, right? For leaders and owners, and it's always there. It's on the drive home. It's on vacation. It's always sitting around in your head. And that's probably the hardest part. I don't think most people know or realize how often that's just part of conversations, either internally or part of a dinner or how's your day? Well, I can tell you two of my favorite people just quit today, and yeah, I'm not going to sleep for a week, or I have to replace, or I've got it. It's all those things, and it doesn't have to be big major shifts. It was all the little things too that just kind of make you think all the time, and your brain doesn't shut off, and that just gets tiring. some people love it, right? I mean, some people absolutely love that stuff and they succeed doing it. I think for a lot of others, it just gets hard, and it doesn't have to. Right? There are other ways to do it, and so I think very many people are stuck in that same cycle in some part of it, right? Maybe not all of it. My fear is that, of course, then it keeps going down, and I didn't catch it till very late. Thankfully, did. But my hope is to help others kind of catch it first, catch it early.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be proactive, ask themselves the questions. You know, I mean, I think they're easy enough questions to answer, right? Because I mean, about yourself, or ask friends, like ask friends. So what have I changed at all late? Like anything, right? And I know, like, and listen, form is great in YPO.
Yes.
It's awesome, but it's more the day to day, like the everyday things that, you know, like, oh, great news. My EA is pregnant and going on maternity leave. I'm so happy for her, but I won't sleep for a year when because who am I going to replace her with? What am I going to do? And, you know, or my top sales guy is going on paternity leave and, you know, he's taking 6 months paternity or whatever. And it's like, how is that going to impact? And, you know, the day-to-day sort of employee, staff, superstars, like that's always on your mind. Yes. And, you know, perfect example, Jay, our operator, hi, Jay, went on paternity leave in July. And so he told me, and I went, oh, okay. Happy for you. So happy for you. Right. But you stressed the whole time, right? Because I knew I couldn't get somebody that was of Jay's caliber and in for a short time. And, you know, he offered up a couple of replacements, but honestly, by the time you brief them and do whatever, like it's not the same. So, I mean, these are things that keep you up at night and it's a lonely world. So the day-to-day knowing what you're good at is so important. And all of those questions that you talked about.
It is. And if I could just add to that, I think once you get yourself in that cycle of the kind of the stress and the frustrations, you don't see the good parts anymore. Right? You don't see the fact that there's so many great things happening. We just developed a great customer, or we lost the project, but we developed a relationship and that salesperson learned so much. You lose the joy. You forget to start seeing the great things about it, and you just get stuck staring at the frustrating parts. And I think that's where the joy just really starts to go away. And because there's always lots of stress in many lives and in many parts of life, and certainly most jobs, right? Not most jobs aren't. It's not just the leaders that are stressed, but I think when the leader is stressed, it just filters and drains everybody, right? It's very hard to be incredibly happy or productive when your leader is just cranky and miserable. So I think it sometimes it does flow downstream, that if you're just not happy with whatever, right? Maybe your business life is amazing, but your personal life is just taking you down. Well, that shows up in your business life, and vice versa. If your personal life is amazing, but your business life is struggling and hard, it drags that down, right? I think it starts to get very difficult then to see the positives. And it's a nasty cycle. That's a nasty cycle. Yeah.
I love that word, joy.
Me too.
Because it's so important to take joy in every day. I don't think there's anybody that I can think of in history that doesn't want joy in every day. So sometimes we have bad days and sometimes we're just doing the wrong thing. So I think those questions are so key that you talk about, and just remembering, if you're not finding joy, you probably should do something about it.
Yep. Yeah. The answer would be why, right? Start asking, why am I not, right? Why am I cranky? Why am I not happy? Why don't I have joy you can start answering that, or just asking the question. Yeah. I think it's a wonderful spot to start. Yeah.
I think people should have businesses way more better on their walls, and then measure themselves against that. The employee satisfaction.
Yeah. that'd be a fun way to take it, right? Say, put it on the wall and say, how do I get way more better, right? Where am I at? Sometimes it's just 5 minutes a day. I mean, if there's all those studies about your meditation and things, and I tried it. It's not for me. I'm not really good at sitting still for very long. But I tell you what, if you can get me to think about skiing and the après ski and sit with a fire pit and family and friends, and I'm happy and I've got joy for at least 5 minutes when I'm thinking about it. And for me, that's the way more better thing. And it can be just minutes. You don't have to be there all the time, but just bring that a little bit into your day. And then you can bring a little of that joy to your next meeting or to your next interview or to your next business process. But then to your point, let's start measuring it. Say, how do we get way more better, right? It's a little like the BHAG, right? The big goal. But then my take on is it's got to be more than that. It's got to be personal too, because the business can succeed, but if you aren't, right, if you don't have joy, if you don't have happiness, if you don't have, then it's not really that successful, is it? And that's my take. I know there's tons of people that say business success is far more important, right? Don't worry about your kids; they figure it out themselves. That's not my take on life. My take on life is we do it all together, and I want the whole group to succeed, right? I want my kids to be happy. I want my employees to be happy. I want my wife to be thrilled. I want her to think of our home as the way more better place. And if we can do that, then I think we've certainly, in my view, I've succeeded. If we haven't, then there's work to be done.
It's about balance, right? It's about balance. And even if you do something that brings joy to you every day, all day, it's out of balance, because if it's keeping you away from home and you end up with a failed marriage, we spoke to somebody the other day that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
And the balance was off. They learned their lesson, but lost a marriage. I think a good measurement for people listening could be, if you can't say, I am way more better than, if you choke on the words, then they probably need to give you a call.
Absolutely. Or I can't even define what my way more better is. I don't have a way more better spot.
Oh, that's scarier.
That's even more scary. So you don't even have a target of where you're happiest in life, whatever it is. I had a woman, she said, I'm happiest. She goes, my way more better spot. She goes, I know it's simple. She goes, I put on my running shoes, I put my AirPods in, and I walk for 45 minutes. It's the challenge too, I think, to keep trying things and to keep pushing and to say, how can I make it just a little more better, right? How can I get a little more better? And eventually that little more, those steps get you to way more better.
It's having that joy for a moment in your day. So you could be dealing with them. I mean, because listen, just because you're trying to make your business way more better or your personal life way more better doesn't mean you're not going to have stressful times through your day. But if by thinking about, coffee is my way more better, it gives you a moment of joy and gives you a chance to slow your heart rate down and de-stress a bit, then it's doing its job, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. And there's science behind that, right? Where you need those moments, especially before you walk into a stressful situation. Get yourself to that, that way more better spot, that calm, and your body changes, right? The internal chemistry, I wish I could remember all the hormones and chemicals that go through your brain when that happens, but there's science behind that. And if you can do that a couple times a day, boy, it gets better in a hurry.
Serotonin, yeah. And all of those tonins.
That's where we need Jay to pop up like, hey, here's the smart list right here that all these things would happen.
Jay, are you sleeping? Where's that list?
Where's that list?
But yeah, all the feel good hormones for sure. And 100% science about that. And it's, they say if you can relax your brain and think of those moments like that, it is equivalent to X number of minutes in meditation. I don't do meditation either, but I do often think about those moments of joy that, give me great pleasure. And whether it's the first coffee, whether it's, running, whether it's exercising, like after the good workout, so many things, like, there's just so many, So it's a very, very cool combination of words, and works because it's not grammatically correct. If it was grammatically correct, it wouldn't stand out.
No, it wouldn't. And I don't think you can, I mean, maybe there's some brilliant word that combines those, but it's just the way, I think, is how do we get out there? How do we get past what is just okay to be better? No, wait, let's think big. Let's go big. And then let's chase it, right? Business too. It doesn't have to be, what you're good at today, but what would be way more better for your business? Boy, or if we did this and this, all right, how do we get there? We might not be able to get there for 5 years, 10 years, but if we can start taking steps to it, we're going to get there, right? And talk about it, and challenge ourselves to think that way, as opposed to, I'm okay with, 3%. Well, 3% is great. And by the way, in some industries, it's amazing. But what would be really out there that we can do and would make everybody happier, right?
Yeah.
Or more successful? Let's get there. Let's start laying it out and talking about if it's possible, right?
And it's way more better than calling it a BHAG, which Jay's dying right now. I know, because that came up the other day and he went, "What's a BHAG?" So it's
the way more better goal, right? What's our way more better goal?
Because BHAG isn't an attractive word, no matter how you look at it.
No, it makes complete sense when you say it, but it's
it just doesn't sound nice.
No.
So let's leave it at way more better is way more better to think about work and life. And I want to finish up with something a little bit on the humor side, since everybody's probably feeling super happy and way more better right now. So if you could live in any sitcom, which one would you choose?
I love Cheers. If I could live in Cheers, now maybe it's just because I have an affinity. I used to be a bartender in college. I have an affinity for that type of banter too, the quick wit, the not being able to just let somebody rest on their laurels, and the camaraderie of that bar was just amazing. And I would probably live in Cheers.
That's a good one for sure. The camaraderie is amazing,
Yes.
right? And like you said, the wit, the kind of sports connection, the togetherness, and it's funny. So, and it's a relaxed atmosphere.
For me, it's it feels like a way more better spot, right? You can talk and laugh and feel at home. So I would probably reside in Cheers.
Good, RJ. Well, I know we're going to be hearing a lot more from you. So thank you so much for taking the time today.